Assalamu alaikum. I don't often promote anyone, whether they be fellow Muslim scholars or I don't want you to focus on human beings and whatever it is they do. I want you to focus on the words of the Almighty Allah and everything that He does. Because He only does good for the believers and He never makes mistakes and He never does anything wrong because His qadar, or His destiny, is perfect. We might not be aware of it because when we were in college, they made us take Western Civ 1 and 2, and through that, they were trying to, I guess, create little atheists because they would tackle the subject of predestination and free will. In Arabic, we call it, for the predestination, we call it musayir, and the free will is mukhayyir. So musayir and mukhayyir, they would make us, when we study the Lutheran Protestant Reformation in European history, they would say John Calvin, who was stern and unyielding and not a very nice guy, he believed in predestination. And then Martin Luther believed in free will, and he was an ex-Catholic priest, so he was a good guy. But anyway, what they did was they made the subject extremely, ridiculously difficult for anyone to grasp, which is what they do more or less. I say they. The bad scholars, the bad ulama, will tell you, oh, don't go deep in this. You know, nobody really understands it. Nobody can really cope with this idea of predestination, etc. But I always wanted to. And even when I became a Muslim, I went straight into it because I love this qadar. Allahu ala kulli shayin qadir. The subject is qadar. And why am I saying this right now? Every day we live out our qadar. And our qadar is recorded in the Lawhun Mahfuz above the seventh heaven. It's every single deed that everyone will do who has ever existed has been written. And, you know, you'll see some of the Arabic films that will say, and so it is written, and so it will be done. And they make it all very dramatic. You know, that these Muslims have this idea that's kind of like spooky and weird, and it's called qadar, and it is your destiny. And what does that mean? Well, what I believe it means is you can do both, or you can perceive both, or you can choose both, or you can believe in both, because from your view, your worldview, your purview of where you sit, you would prefer to believe that you have mukhayyir, free will, because that's the human being's tendency to want to not just take orders and not have to really think about much. No, you want to believe that you can determine your, quote, destiny. Yes, you're given that privilege by Allah. Allah gives you freedom in the Quran, and then He gives you His rules, which you are free to accept or reject. So that would be the free will. But the predestination part, the musayir, means that you are being led towards what Allah already wrote for you and already knew what you would choose because He created you. And Allah is alim, and He knows everything. So now, after I've given this brief introduction, I want to talk about qadar in the sense of what happened to me this morning when I got the reel of Candace Owens. I'm sure all Americans know who she is. She's an amazingly competent African-American journalist who was raised Protestant and then became Catholic when she married her Catholic husband. And she has come to be the representative of the anti-Zionist genocide. She literally debates Jewish rabbis, although I don't like that word Jewish, Orthodox, those who represent the Orthodox persuasion, and she totally wins the battle. She goes on the Piers Morgan British talk show and totally, I say, wins the battle, because she's in a battle for truth. She's in a battle with Satan. And she is competent and eloquent. And you either love her or you hate her. But I just think it's so funny that she's beautiful, married, pregnant again with her third child, and she's all that. She's the full package. Well, when the woke tried to foist Kamala Harris upon the American public as their president, it was her QADR. She's not going to win. It wasn't written for her to win. And do I feel sorry for her? A little bit. Yeah, she was in the public eye and she tried her best, but there were just too many forces working against her. And I won't go into that because this is not a political lesson. This lesson, I want to tell you that it is the QADR of Allah that He wrote upon this young American woman, Candace Owens, that she could probably shake their world right now. Whose world? The genocidal maniacs? Please tune in. I wouldn't put a link because, as I said, I don't like that way, but see what Candace Owens said today. And after you listen, 5 minutes, that's all, 5 or 8 minutes, I'm going to tell you how I see it. Candace Owens briefly mentions that the number's up for Israel, and she gives you the reasons why she thinks so. And then she mentions that she was recently speaking to a Christian about it, and he's starting to see more clearly now, because this whole Jews for Jesus thing was a total scam, brainwashing scam. And she just briefly mentioned that things are looking good. People are waking up. And my take on it is just to tell you, I'm wondering how the devil, the Satan, the evil deceiver, the liar, managed to convince the Christian, I say Americans, we could use the word world, but because I'm American, I like to put things in context of what to me is really pertinent. How on earth have they been supporting the Zionist entity and stealing land for over 100 years and killing the innocents and still killing and starving them? And at the same time, the Christian world is supporting them. Now, do you know that the J word, which I don't use, I call it the sons of Israel, the covenant breakers are called Yehud. The Yehud have never wanted or accepted or recognized or appreciated anything that Jesus and his followers have ever done. Quite the contrary, they fought him. And the lie that Jesus was crucified, what can you do with something like that? You worship the crucified Jesus, you Christians, all bloody with a crown of thorns and nails in his hands and feet. At the same time, you must accept and understand and recognize and admit that Jesus was persecuted by these people and still is, and they still don't recognize him, and they still deny that he was even a prophet. So now, how has it come to this? Where you are still, and let's not mention the Congress and the Senate and the apex, and you know what I mean. If you're American, you know what I mean. How have they gotten this far? And wouldn't it be the greatest example of QADR that this young girl, Candace Owens, African-American girl, not from a fancy school, from a very baseline family, is going to be a warrior for truth? I just love her. So I'm going to tell you, tune in. I mean, today is, what day? Tuesday? I think it's January 6th. or 7th. I lose track of time. Yeah, because I don't go out. I just basically stay home and read. Now I'm going to do more videos for you to make up for my negligence. I promise. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.